Welcome to another bonus episode of the Jewish Diaspora Reports. This week in Diaspora history. Let's get started. 10th of Shevat, 1950, Brooklyn, New York. The Chabad Lubavitch 6th Rebbe passes away. The 6th Rebbe, known as the previous Rebbe, Yosef Yitzhak Schneerson, fled Europe, settled in Crown Heights section of Brooklyn in New York City. During the last decade of the Rabbi Schneerson's life, from 1940 to 1950, he began to teach publicly, and many came to seek out his teachings. He began gathering and sending out small numbers of his newly trained rabbis to other cities around the world. Today, his work has contributed to Chabad Lubavitch becoming one of the most recognizable organizations in Orthodox Judaism around the world. 12th of Shevat, 1941 and 1943. The Nazis provoked the first anti-Jewish riots in Amsterdam. The Jews successfully fought off their attackers. 2 years later to the day, 1943, Jews in the Warsaw ghetto put up their first resistance to the Nazi effort for liquidation of the ghetto. In 1942, Germans began deporting about 256,000 Jews from Warsaw to the death camp Treblinka. About 700 young Jewish fighters clashed with German forces, sometimes in hand-to-hand combat. These fighters were poorly equipped and lacked military training and experience. In the end, the Germans razed the ghetto to the ground. They burned and demolished this part of Warsaw, block by block, in order to smoke out their prey. The untrained and under-equipped Jewish resistance fighters resisted the Germans for nearly a month, roughly the same time as the entire country of Poland. Some fighters survived the war. 13th of Shevat, 1790. French National Assembly grants full and equal citizenship to the Jews of Portugal and Avignon. France was the first European country to pass such liberal legislation. In December 1789, following the French Revolution and the Declaration of the Rights of Man, the issue of Jewish rights was debated in the National Assembly for 3 days with no conclusion reached. In January 1790, facing acts of violence against them from their Christian neighbors, the Jewish residents petitioned the National Assembly for French citizenship. Despite the plea from the Ashkenazi Jews of eastern France, which represented the majority of French Jewry, the petition was not granted. However, the Assembly decided to grant equality to, quote, all the Jews known in France under the name of Portuguese, Spanish, and Avignon Jews. These Sephardim, who descended from the Conversos, had migrated to France in the 16th century, spoke French, interacted with Christians in business, and dressed like their French neighbors. As a result of their different social standing, they were recognized by the National Assembly as being distinct from the majority of French Jewry. After nearly 2 more years of debate, French Ashkenazim were finally granted emancipation in September 1791. This has been another episode of This Week in Diaspora History on the Jewish Diaspora Report. We'll see you next time.